On behalf of the Strong Cities Network, it is my absolute honor to welcome all of you to this extremely special event with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. My name is Sasha Havlicek. I'm the founder and CEO of the Institute for Strategic Dialogue. For 15 years, our extremely dedicated international team of practitioners, of data analysts, of policy specialists, of former extremists, of technologists, of educators, have worked to find and to deliver solutions to the rising tide of global hate and polarization, of disinformation and extremism in all of its forms. Having led research, policy, and action programs on every continent, we knew early on that effective and sustainable strategies to prevent these threats must be rooted within local communities. Cities are in so many ways the front line, and it was on this premise that we had the privilege of working with 25 global mayors and the US State Department to launch the Strong Cities Network at the UN General Assembly in 2015. The first endeavor to mount a truly international city-led response to polarization and extremism. Our network has now grown to nearly 150 governments, local governments, representing every major global region. To give you just a brief sense of what this has meant in practice, our teams have delivered training and capacity building to nearly 3,500 local practitioners around the world. Our members access best practice through the SCN online hub, and this includes guides and training modules for teachers, for city officials, and for civil society. We've established a local prevention infrastructure, that is, coordination bodies that unite city halls, civil society, educators, companies, faith leaders across the Middle East and Africa and the Balkans. First inspired by an exchange between Jordanian and Danish mayors and cities. And we've helped them deploy programs in areas ranging from de-radicalization and reintegration to communications and youth engagement. We're so proud of the work our Young City program is doing to put young people in the driving seat through dialogue with city leaders in places like Kenya, Lebanon, Senegal, Macedonia. But what, you might ask, has an organization dedicated to combating hate and extremism got to do with kindness and compassion? I have to say, I have seen firsthand the power of empathy and kindness to break down the othering mindset, which is so central to extremist ideologies. It is instrumental in bringing people out of these movements. We've seen the very real impact of kindness and compassionate leadership and programming, and been inspired by those that have chosen to lead in this way. Mayor Tate, former mayor of Anaheim in California, Mayor Fisher of Louisville, also president of the US Conference of Mayors, an important institution with which we are honored to partner today in hosting this event, to mention but a couple. You have both been such champions of this initiative, and more broadly, of a compassionate approach to leadership. I wanted to acknowledge you, along with the US State Department, in particular Mike Duffin here, for all your help and guidance on this event, and also to thank you for what you do for the Strong Cities Network writ large. COVID-19 has made greater and more challenging demands on local leaders than ever. Not only do cities face the brunt of a public health crisis of historic proportions and its economic and social fallout, but with the massive proliferation of disinformation, something that we've been tracking at the Institute on and offline, they also face a rise in hate incidents, anti-minority rhetoric, and civil unrest. These are difficult times everywhere, and so this event couldn't come at a more critical moment. We are so deeply grateful to His Holiness and his team for facilitating today's discussion. Your ongoing engagement with the Strong Cities Network, having kindly hosted a delegation of SCN mayors in India in 2018, has been a very genuine inspiration, and it has spurred action. My very heartfelt thanks goes to you and to all of the mayors that have joined us here today. I pass the floor now to Mayor Fisher of Louisville, Kentucky, as president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, as a leading member of the Strong Cities Network, and as a great proponent of kind and compassionate leadership himself. Mayor Fisher is the very perfect host and moderator for the remainder of today's session. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you, Sasha, and everybody from the Strong Cities Network for helping to arrange, which is going to be an extraordinary conversation tonight. Thanks also to our partners, including former Anaheim Mayor Tom Tate, the U.S. State Department, Lama Seaton, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors Center for Compassionate and Equitable Cities. It is my honor to introduce the preeminent global leader and champion for compassion and kindness, universal human values that we need now more than ever, as mayors all over the world are facing tremendous social, economic, health, and environmental challenges. We can rise above these challenges when people across the globe embrace compassion and work with common purpose. His Holiness provides us with guidance in this work through teachings like this, quote, "I consider our tendency to see each other in terms of us and them as stemming from ignorance of interdependence. As participants in the same global economy, we depend on each other, while changes in the climate and the global environment affect us all. What's more, as human beings, we are physically, mentally, and emotionally the same," end quote. When I became mayor of Louisville 10 years ago, His Holiness inspired me to proclaim compassion as a core value that would guide our city government, and to define compassion as the work we do to help people realize their full human potential. It's an action word. His Holiness amplified that message himself to 16,000 of my city's residents when he visited Louisville in 2013. Now, we know the Dalai Lama speaks to everyone, and he particularly appreciates the work of mayors. That this was evident during His Holiness's address to the United States Conference of Mayors during our 2016 summer conference in Indianapolis. In 2018, at his home in Dharamsala, His Holiness told Mayor Tom Tate and me that, quote, "I can't travel the world as much as I once did. I need you mayors to be my hands." So mayors, that's our charge, to lead our cities and serve our people with kindness and compassion, and inspire our residents to live those values in their everyday lives. And tonight, we're honored to hear His Holiness share a perspective unlike anyone on earth. He was born into a farming family in northeastern Tibet in 1935. He was identified as the reincarnation of the 13th Dalai Lama at the age of 2, and assumed his role as the leader of the Tibet at 15 years old, the same year China invaded his country. In the 7 decades since, His Holiness has served as a tireless advocate for the Tibetan people and for peace, interfaith connection, and compassion. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1989. In 2011, he voluntarily turned over his political authority to the democratically elected leaders of the Tibetan government. It is my great honor now to welcome to this global conversation my friend, the esteemed Tenzin Gyatso, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. Welcome, Your Holiness.
Thank you. I am indeed very happy having this opportunity to talk through television. And of course, number of, so I think here people,
Mayors, no.
mayors, you see, as you mentioned, we know each other since many years. Now, I always now emphasize we need the sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. We all same human being, you see, same emotion, same mind. Some scientists say we are social animal. So any social animal, you see, by nature, they have some sense of, let's say, group or sense of community. Or like animal. You see, many, since their own individual life, individual actually existence, very much depend on the group. So therefore, we human being, as a social animal, by nature, we have sense of also the taking care of other, your own community. Taking care your own community is your own interest, your own survival. That is nature. So now here, today's world, when I look, there are many problems. Essentially, the major problem is our own creation. We, you see, too much emphasis, individual, or myself, my family, my community, my nation, and my religion, and so on. Number of problems which our own creation. So we have the ability to overcome these problems, because these problems are our own creation. So now here, I always is saying, we need sense of oneness of entire human being. Different religion, different nation, these are secondary. Number one, we are human being. We all have 5 senses of organs. That's common with other animals also. But we have the 6th mind. So that have the sort of intelligence, seeing things, analyze, and think about the future. That's we human being, something unique. However, this human special intelligence also, you see, the creator of problem. Other animals, you see, 1,000 years, they live this way. We often usually create problem. So now, world, as I mentioned earlier, the economy, climate condition, and so on. You see, now we human beings on this planet, we should act like, one family, like that. So you see, it is gone, my nation, my religion. That's now the way of thinking of past. That at that time, different nation, different community, and also you see sometimes you see religion, also you see group. Now today, you see, economy, for example, economy, global economy, and with this technology, now world becoming much smaller. Now we really, you see, also the unrelative, no, not relative. You see, think we, me, no. Now we must think we, humanity, our world. So in that respect, as I mentioned earlier, I always use the emphasis we are same human being. I myself, now since become refugee, so I always feel we are same. With this feeling, wherever I go, I always feel we are same. We are same. Different religion, different races, different country is secondary. Most important part, we are same human being. We have to live side by side. So I always keep this feeling. So it helped me. I never feel lonely. We are same. We remain this planet, big humanity's home. Okay. Then different religion is personal matter. Firstly, we have to think about human being. So your work more international level is very good. Now time gone, the emphasis, my nation, my religion. Now that is, I think, now should be past. Now we have to think humanity. And this, not just a theory. Myself, because of circumstances, I always feel I am one of the human being of this world. So that really, you see, bring, wherever I go, whenever I meet people, I always feel same. You see, sometimes you see people, you see very much concerned about introduction. Introduce by oneself. Before that, not shaking hand. I feel, you see, silly. So long we, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, we are human being, and we can smile. So therefore, you see, thinking oneness of humanity, for me, very helpful. When I came to India, was a big country, population-wise, big. Number 2, China, number 1. Then number 2, India, over billion. And of course, I am Buddhist. So once Indian Prime Minister mentioned India is the land of Buddha. So it is true. So you see, this land, historically, spiritually, very close. So that also one factor. So in any way, you see, I have not much differences. You see, my own place and India. And similarly, whenever I go a different country, Europe, Africa, Latin America, I always feel we are same human being. So the concept of oneness, I think very important. Now, many problems which we are facing is too much emphasis, small community, my country, my religion, my community. Within one country, you see, a different race or different class and different religion. So now these thinking, you see, the ancient time, okay. Now today, we should have sense of universal responsibility. Think oneness of entire human being. And I think reality also now teach us, firstly, global warming. Now that, you see, we have to say, we, you see, there is no exception, different individual country. Global warming, entire world facing this problem. So therefore, now the economy also, now global economy. And now, other hand, many problems which we are facing is, you see, we too much emphasis, small group, my own country, my own religion, so on. So, you see, remedy is we should develop sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings, and we have to live together. And then environment issue, as I mentioned. So therefore, now I emphasize the importance of sense of oneness, like that. So this is my number one. I fully committed promotion of this, the concept of oneness of human being, and we have to live together. So, you see, the harmony, and in order to contact each other closely, we should be honest, truthful. Then trust comes. Without trust, difficult. Education alone, or money, or political power will not bring trust. Trust, wholeheartedness. So therefore, the basics of one aspect of wholeheartedness is create trust, belief. So now, I also practice these things. So very helpful, like that. So I want to share with other people. You see, ultimately, is the fear, me. That is too much emphasis on individual. And the opposite of that, we should develop, instead of me, the feeling of we humanity. So now here, I always feel education very important. Now education, now modern education, mainly from West, you see very much talking about material value, not much talk about our inner world. So now this respect, India, 1,000 years, you see, about the inner world, you see, also a lot of explanation. So that we need now pay more attention about our inner world. Through that way, India's 1,000-year-old sort of tradition, ahimsa, non-violence, and karuna, compassion. Now these are inner quality. So now we will need the practice of non-violence, practice of compassion. These two things are very important. So now, East, West, now a lot of sort of what's the now contract. So I think now time come. Eastern 1,000-year-old thinking, non-violence and compassion. These, I think, like previous century, Mahatma Gandhiji, you see, create ahimsa, non-violence. He carry freedom struggle according principle of non-violence. So eventually, number of country like South Africa and many countries, you see, follow Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violent thinking. So now here, similarly, now 20th century, we should pay more attention about our inner world. And now when we saying this, much depend on education. Now in modern education, not much talk about inner world, about mind, about emotion, and how to tackle emotion. This now should pay more attention. And India, 1,000 years, you see, concept of secular. Some of these ideas come from religious text, but we should consider these are academic subject, not religious subject. Religion is individual, private business. Now these things are we common as human being, all human beings need as an academic subject. Religion is individual business, individual matter. But warm-heartedness, truthful, honest, these are related with the society or whole humanity. So now, education, I usually expressing the hygiene of physical important. The more important is hygiene of emotion. For that, we need more more knowledge about emotion. Once, my Indian friend Raja Ramana, now he mentioned to me about quantum physics. Quantum physics in the West is some new in Europe, but in this country, quantum physics over 2,000 years already developed. So that related with our emotion. You see, emotion, as I briefly, I think, mentioned, emotion, the 5 senses organs, as a carry message. Real emotion come from 6th mind. Now there are, things appears more or less independently. Now, once we think more deeper way, because of material things, does not exist by itself. If we investigate You see, everything depends on mental, how should they, mental perception. So, so for me, the quantum physics very useful. All these negative feeling much depend on appearances. Something good, attachment. Something bad, anger. With this anger, attachment, fear, doubt, these things happen. So now here, the India's conception, you see, the sixth mind, and should not sort of depend on appearances. We must go deeper level. Then nothing exists as appears, like that. So now this, as I mentioned earlier, this idea come from religious text, but we should take secular way. So now education should include education about our inner world, about our mind, about our emotion. So your organization, you say, can help to promote in education about our inner world, particularly about our emotion, then how to tackle these destructive emotion, and how to, what is the practice to promote positive emotion, like that. So you, my friend, is now think more seriously in worldwide, in education field. Now we should include more information about our emotion and how to tackle emotion. So there's, as I now already discussed, compassion, kind, and with that, automatically honest come. That brings trust. Trust brings unity, like that. So now, questions?
Well, thank you, His Holiness. You look good. You look strong. So we're so pleased you could join the mayors of the world here today. And thank you for agreeing to do this live and agreeing to take questions from mayors around the world. So as we transition to the conversation with mayors, I want to take a moment again to thank former Mayor Tom Tate of Anaheim. You may remember we visited, Tom Tate and me, we visited you in 2018 and loved being with you. And Tom was a big part of our visit to your home, and he worked hard to arrange this conversation. So we want to say thanks to Tom Tate again. So we have, Your Holiness, we have 10 questions from mayors representing different global communities around the world. So time allowing, we'll have 10 questions for you. And our first question comes from Mayor Eric Garcetti, the mayor of the great city of Los Angeles in the United States. Mayor Garcetti.
Well, thank you so much, President Fisher and Your Holiness. Great to be with you, Tashi Delek, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you. Mayors around the world have never had more material challenges. COVID, the deaths that every single day we deal with, the economic hardship with closed economies. But I have a spiritual question for you instead, because here in the United States, probably in other countries too, we have felt very divided in recent years. So my question is a simple one. In the face of that division, what advice do you have of how we can heal together?
I think as sort of America, one nation, I think basically a few centuries American spirit, I think still there. Then you see, due to certain sort of causes and some sort of black and white and similar sort of
Discriminations.
uh,
Discriminations.
discriminations. Now these, even in India also, you see, a little bit sort of discrimination there, but not serious. So basically, harmony there. So America, I think basically, you see, I always emphasize America as a leading nation of free world. So as some people say, America first. That's, I feel, mistake. America, one of the important sort of nation for the whole world. So with sense of responsibility. And then firstly, America, special relation with the European countries. 1,000 people killed or sacrificed their own life. First World War, Second World War, like that. So, you see, America should think whole world. So, basically, you see, I think the emotionally or mentally close feeling, I don't think it's much serious. Then you see some individual, you see, describing the way, you see, too much sort of emphasis, like color, like that. These are not very serious, I feel. Some individual, you see, may say certain sort of views, but America as a nation, big nation, I don't think the American spirit changing. I don't think. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Our next question comes from Mayor Maria Isabel Climaco of Zamboanga in the Philippines. Mayor Climaco.
Maraming salamat to the SCN, Paz de Dios y Abrazo de Nuestra Señora la Virgen del Pilar de San Jose. Thank you very much. Your Holiness, I have a very important question. What lesson can we learn from the pandemic and how should we respond? Thank you.
Oh. Now, firstly, I very much sort of concerned, and my daily meditation prayer, I always used to pray the current or the kasa,
The pandemic.
this illness, and then I really appreciate number of scientists from different country carrying research work, how to tackle this, and the number of nurses really, you see, helping this sort of field. In some cases, I think they sacrifice their own comfort, their own life. I really appreciate. So now, this is we have to sort of learn from medical scientists and these some sort of or nurses or expert about this illness. We should pay more attention, cautious. That's I feel. Otherwise, I'm not expert. And we should wear, you see, this kasa. Mask. Oh yes, that's how. That's what. Thank you.
Right. you, Your Holiness. Our next question comes from Mayor Andy Burke of Chattanooga, Tennessee, in America.
Your Holiness, thank you so much for participating in this, and I want to thank the U.S. Conference and certainly the Strong Cities Network. I've learned so much, and it's helped inform our work here in Chattanooga, particularly our Council Against Hate. What I want to ask you this evening, Your Holiness, is what can local leaders do today that will make their communities a more humane and just world tomorrow?
I think the world sort of a tendency, you see people, you see working together with full cooperation. Unlike the previous century, say First World War, Second World War, and then I think without much sort of feeling with the problem of other country. Now that much change. I always feel French, Germany, and First World War, Second World War, arch enemy. But then after Second World War, under the leadership of Adenauer and the leadership of de Gaulle, these France and Germany, the arch enemy, the leading nation to create European Union. So these are, I feel, is a very good change. So I always say, admire the spirit of European Union. So now, eventually, in Latin America or Africa, some kind of union eventually can create on the basis of the spirit of oneness, one continent. So that I think things are changing. I feel because of a lot of different experiences. And then today's world, you see people, so more sort of wisdom because of a lot of sort of our experiences. So therefore, I feel I'll say, beside our own effort, like international sort of also the gathering more often. And then you see the people should feel no longer distance each other. We are same human family. I think like the mayors, you see, different continent, different countries, you should from time to time together and talk and share each other's experiences. So I think time come, we should now remain isolated each other. Distance, no. In the principle of oneness of human being, you see, as much as possible, more often meeting and discuss. I feel that. Yes? Now, next question.
Our next question comes from Councilor Sarah Hamilton of Edmonton in Canada. Councilor Hamilton.
Good evening, Your Holiness. My name is Sarah Hamilton. I'm a city councillor in Edmonton, located on Treaty 6 territory in Alberta, Canada, and home to a strong Tibetan community. Your Holiness, my question relates to something you just spoke about. In the past number of years, we have seen an increase in divisions and ideologies to the extreme. In your experience and wisdom, how would you suggest we go about bridging that division to create a more inviting space to bridge and understand why these divisions are expanding?
I feel the biased view, including religion, I think today, compare previous centuries, or even you see few centuries, I think much better, much improved. Now regarding religion, and previously the kings, queens, and sort of religious leaders, you see, they very much sort of involved using force. Now that completely changed. Different religion now, among the different religion, harmonious. India is one example. All major world religious traditions live together in India. And then one example, in India, I never heard some sort of problem between Shia and Sunni. I never heard. So now, and Muslim countries, and Christian, Muslim, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. Now, overall, I think because of more contact, not remain isolate, and then each other saying they. More contact, and eventually, you see the spirit of just we brother, sister. So I think overall, if we look holistic way, I think today's world, I think much better. And previously, small isolate sort of condition, and then, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm more optimistic. Things are changing. But still, we need more effort constantly. The religious leaders meeting, intellectual, scholars, and scientists, and like mayors sort of organization. I think we still, you see, we make continuously, constant effort. The basic situation, I feel, much improved than past centuries, I feel.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Our next question comes from Mayor Visar Ganyu of Skopje. Mayor?
Thank you very much. Your Holiness, Mr. Dalai Lama, distinguished colleagues, mayors, and all of you who are present. I would like to express my emotions and pleasure that I am among you today, and I am given the opportunity to ask the question of His Holiness, Mr. Dalai Lama. My question is, how can we as local government deal with the disinformation about COVID-19?
As I mentioned earlier, you see, we need experienced, authentic sort of scholars should meet and explain about truth. So the individual, then I think the individual who create different sort of explanation, then can their influence can reduce. So much less also the program kare
Disinformation.
ka
Disinformation.
ka
Disinformation.
disinformation like that. So now world becomes smaller. So we should have this kind of meeting more often and discuss and invite concerned, you see, now illness, invite doctors, nurses, like that. I think we should, now the reality, we just one human community, so we should have more often to discuss commonly, like that. This I feel.
Thank you, Your Holiness. Our next question comes from Mayor Naheed Nenshi of Calgary, Canada. Mayor Nenshi.
Well, thank you so much, President Fisher. And Your Holiness, thank you for this incredible opportunity that I know none of us will ever forget. This year in Calgary, we are so grateful to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the arrival of the first Tibetan settlers here. And the community here is strong and well settled, and we're very grateful for them. And they're part of a very diverse fabric here, from the indigenous people who've been here for many thousands of years to people from every corner of this earth. This year, we've seen two very different things. On the one hand, we've seen a conversation about our need to become anti-racist in terms of Black Lives Matter and Indigenous Lives Matter. But at the same time, we've seen voices of hatred and division grow louder and louder and louder. And all of us here aspire to be leaders in our community. So what can we do as leaders to fight those voices of division, to bring up those voices of compassion and kindness and mercy and love? How can we help people live together on this land?
I think if you look from the wider perspective, you see, I think you see unity among the people, including different religious tradition. I think the unity, I think much improve. Now, for example, and I think global level, the government, now for example, China, the most populated and number one populated country and communist country, but relation with some other like United States and India, I think things are improving. So generally speaking, and also as I mentioned earlier, you see, in Middle East, comparatively, things are improving. So I quite optimistic. Things are now changing. Things are improving. So still we need a constant effort. This is try to, because of the clear misunderstanding. That's important. Otherwise, I think basically we, I feel, you see, human being, I think through education, through personal contact and economic reasons, I think world much more closer. Now American new president, and I think eventually, because of the relation with China, seems to see now improving. So this is very good. Now, time use military forces is gone. We should work together we should live happily, helping each other. So our thinking should be realistic. Then, as I mentioned earlier, one world. So-called our enemy, you see, you cannot eliminate completely. Whether you like it or not, you have to live together. So, since you see, live together, then much better, happily. Not always to see angry face, no use.
그러면서 캐나다기 단다 캘거리 스콜 베리 주 코베 뒤진 다
가.
송지시에서 베리 조파게 캐나다 캘거리 콜레 렘네 롱업 주 코베 뒤진 시고 스타트 송지시.
Oh, thank you. So Canada, I think, first nation taking Tibetan refugee group. So I have been mainly, you see, Toronto, the many Tibetan there, they really feel very happy. And the Canadian friends, say, very harmony, very good. So basically, wherever we Tibetan refugee live, you see, the local people always, you see, praising Tibetan. They are humble, hardworking, like that. So we as I mentioned earlier, I think basically things compare, you see, previous century. I think we becoming more mature. We human beings becoming more mature. So things are improving. Now sometimes you see some trouble things you see happen, and immediately we attract it. The overall, these are just a few cases, but sometimes we get the impression, oh, things are so difficult. But if we analyze or look more closely, that these are few cases. I feel like that. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, Tibetan is a few cases, some sort of because of the crime committed. But overall, Tibetan refugee, very peaceful. So, you see, we cannot say, pick up few individual Tibetan who carry some because of the murder like that. You cannot sort of, because of the create impression or Tibetan refugee are very bad. We cannot say. Individual, always there. So overall, I feel world improving. So now, because of the more deeper experience, so people, you see, have the spirit to work together and live together. So that kind of situation, there we should pay more attention. Mayors, you see, different country, you see, occasionally, you see, we have some meeting and talk about these things and propagate like that. Okay.
All right. Thank you for your positive outlook and your laughter too, Your Holiness. We always like when you share your laughter with us. So we have 3 more questions. Our next question comes from Councillor Jorgen Christensen of Kristiansand in Norway. Councillor Christensen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Fisher. Your Holiness, thank you very much for taking the time to do this meeting with us. It's really an honor. My name is Jordan Christensen from Norway, and I'm interested in questions on how we can make the world a better place to live, and how we can fight injustice and poverty, and how everyone can get access to education. And from a Norwegian and Northern European angle, where we had peace now for 76 years, it might seem like when people have a job, go to school, and have enough food, there are less conflicts. So my question today for Your Holiness is the following. Do you think there is a connection between war, conflict, and poverty? In other words, if we succeed in eradicating poverty, will we then be able to achieve a world without war? I know it's a big question, but maybe Your Holiness have some reflections on this.
I think the military or violence conflict in previous time, yes, due to economy or condition, some poorer country, some sort of more powerful country exploiting. But that's, I think, past. Now today, I don't think, you see, because of the economy, difficulties, war, now I don't think. One example, I feel Vietnam War, mainly political, not economy. The southern, because of Vietnam, richer, northern, poorer. But conflict, not on that basis. I think ideology and because of world powers. So now, the military conflict, I don't think now the Kasore automatically reduced now, today, on the world. One example, Pakistan and India, Bangladesh, this is sometimes some complaint there, but no serious danger of conflict. I think whole world and Middle East, I think people, including leader, realizing now they have to work together, live together. I feel, but overall, the poverty, poor, that we have to remove, or the gap, rich and poor, the global level and the national level. Now this morally also wrong. So we have to work to reduce this gap, rich and poor. So now I'm 87 years old.
86.
86 year old. I think world, generally speaking, I think much improved. You see, after Second World War, then more people, you see, feeling Third World War and the nuclear war. But that kind of thinking completely changed. Now, leaders, concerned leaders, now really seriously thinking as a denuclearization, including a United Nations General Secretary. So these are wonderful. I think in previous time, you see, people really feel proud, nuclear weapon. Now people, you see, they're no longer nuclear weapon, really thinking. These are much positive sort of the development, positive thing. we become more realistic. I think in the past, you see, people seeing some problem closely, and that appears big. Now today, I think because of information, because of personal contact, now when something happens, we can look more holistic because of the more
From a wider perspective.
wider perspective. So we become more mature. Or when we pick one problem and look closely, then that appears something very big. But problem is a problem. But look from wider perspective, not much serious. So now today, as I mentioned earlier, within my own lifetime, I think thinking situation, I feel also they much improve, much better. So still we need harmony, firstly, continent to continent, and then country to country, like that. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Your Holiness. Our next question comes from Mayor Bill Peduto of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Your Holiness, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. As so many of my colleagues stated, the world today, in our view, is divided in ways that we haven't seen it before. The simple ideas of holistic approaches and being able to try to unite, there is a strong undercurrent, no matter where you are the mayor, no matter which continent that you serve on, that is made up of binary decision-making, where it's all one way or all the other. And we know that that is due to disparities in our economics, to the COVID crisis, to our environmental crisis. But as we try to work together to bring our communities together, and I'm really looking for your advice at the city level or the village level. My question is, in a politically and socially polarizing world, how do you heal division and anger when it's used in the name of righteousness or justice?
As I mentioned earlier, they also the wider also the contract. Now, for example, when I was in China, then China isolate. So you see, and on top of that, some politicians also manipulated that. Then Deng Xiaoping opened Chinese economy with outside the world. And then more Chinese students also, you see, come out. And some Chinese leaders. So you see, they are thinking, now really, I think the extreme view is much less. So these, I feel, the contract, wider contract, is the only way. So the Chinese case is one example. So上校的长定了念的让了适当的控制权限。I think there's some narrow-minded and foolish people, maybe otherwise, you see, because of some problem and hate oneself and angry oneself. I don't think some foolish, maybe. Otherwise, I don't think. As I mentioned earlier, you see, China, when remain isolated, and then some sort of what's the unrealistic feeling. Now, wider contact, then seeing reality, then much change. So, information, education, now very helpful. You see, to know the reality. Now, number of Chinese hardliner, and previously, you see, described me as a reactionary Dalai Lama. Now, you see, more information. Now, no longer, you see, also the Chinese, also the media say, I'm reactionary. No, since we, regarding Tibetan problem, we approach middle way approach, not seeking independence. So now many Chinese now thinking change, and also I think much sort of also the frustrations due to ignorance. So here we, you see, publish some books about science, Kasa,
Science of mind.
Or science of mind. When that publication reach some Chinese university, many express now Tibetan Buddhism is true Nalanda tradition and very scientific. So much, you see, also the mental sort of uncomfortable feeling is due to ignorance. You see, things become clearer. Then, you see, mind become more normal, like that. So when, as I briefly mentioned, when I was in China, then, you see, like America, they totally sort of negative. Then after Deng Xiaoping, approach more realistic way, more information. So I think worldwide, I think the people get, you see, a better information. Then there's a certain emotion on the basis of wrong view automatically reduce. So I feel optimistic. Things are improving because of contact and information like that. Okay.
All right, Your Holiness, our final question comes from Mayor Leoluca Orlando of Palermo, Italy. Mayor Orlando.
Good morning, Your Holiness. Proudly mentioning that you are honorary citizen of Palermo. That's my question. Does compassion mean fraternity? Fraternity means for us to belong to the same race, the human race. Fraternity is much better than tolerance. Let's be free from fear. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said in the famous Full Freedom speech in 1941. Let's take care of everybody, Holiness, you say. After many centuries of contrast between freedom and equality, in Palermo we try to live fraternity. So, for example, in Palermo, we have not 100,000 migrants. We have no migrant in Palermo. When somebody asks to me, the mayor, how many migrants are in Palermo, I reply, no one. We are all human beings. Who lives in Palermo is Palermitan, not distinguished between who was born, who does live in Palermo. So my opinion on my question, compassion, fraternity, I think is to say, I am a person, we are a community. as an alternative to individual selfishness and groups closed by intolerance and words. Waiting for, once again, for your presence in the city of Palermo, in your Palermo, in our Palermo. Thanks, Holiness. Wishing harmony to the world.
I think now the problem which we humanity facing, for example, this illness, I think because sometimes economy, mainly political, add too much also the emphasis we and they. Otherwise, as far as religious also the thinking is concerned, the theistic religion, the all Christian, Judaism, and Muslim, and you see number of these theistic religion, they all, you see, consider we from same God as our Father. So we all children of one Father. So very powerful. And then God's message is love. So all theistic religion is very much emphasis, you see, loving kindness and ultimately creation of one God as our Father. Then non-theistic religion, such as Jainism and Buddhism and a number of Hinduism, you see, we very much emphasis about compassion, karuna, as I mentioned briefly. So therefore, all religion, you see, never sort of causing, or say, the distinction. Mainly, you see, because of economy and political. Religion, I think all religion, or theistic religion, non-theistic religion, all, you see, teach us the oneness of we human being, and we all need compassion, karuna, and helping each other. So I don't think any the religious tradition causing some problem. I don't think. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness, for sharing this amazing time with us, and hearing your words and your wisdom is always inspiring to us. So we very much appreciate you. And I would like to thank once again the United States Conference of Mayors, Tom Cochran, our Executive Director, Sasha, and the Strong Cities Network, and to the mayors and the local leaders from all around the world for joining us here today. And we'll close with one of my favorite quotes from you, Your Holiness, when you famously say, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. And if you want to be happy, practice compassion. Mayors, I would say the world needs us now more than ever. It's our time. Let's dedicate every fiber in our beings, every beat in our hearts, to work harder than ever to create a more peaceful, connected, and compassionate world. Again, thank you, Your Holiness. We hope to be with you soon once again. And to close out tonight's program, here's a brief video with some final comments from several mayors.
من خلال تجذير مفاهيم العدالة والتماسك المجتمعي ونبذ العنف والتطرف والبعد كل البعد عن الممارسات السلبية التي من شأنها الانحطاط المجتمع. احنا اليوم بصدد أن يكونوا شبابنا فوق كل اعتبار من أجل بناء مجتمعاتنا وأن نكون بالمقدمة لإظهار ما لديهم من طاقات ومن حماس وفكر نير.
I love God. I love Zamboanga City. Serving as mayor in my third term, I'm very grateful to God for this opportunity of which my father aspired. Thus, I tell our office to have kindness and compassion, most importantly for the people who are voiceless, those who seek government assistance from birth to healing until death. We want to leave a mark of kindness, compassion, and love. People will not remember the big buildings that we build, but they will always remember the love, care, and compassion that you have in their hour of need. To me, that is what matters most. I'm Beng Climaco from Zamboanga City, Philippines, via Con Dios, na Abrazo de la Virgen del Pilar.
My name is Ron Nuremberg, and I serve as the mayor of San Antonio, Texas. I've always lived by the golden rule, to treat others how I wish to be treated. And that's why my first action when I became mayor was to sign a resolution affirming the Charter for Compassion. Today, San Antonio is a compassionate city within the global community, one where civic government, religious and volunteer organizations, businesses, the community, and its educational institutions come together to recognize the importance and value of compassion in the life of a city, and by doing so, create a safety net for its most vulnerable citizens. I'm proud of our work using compassionate leadership with integrity to move our city forward during these challenging times and promote equity and inclusion for all.
Among the most sacred missions of life is to extend a helping hand to those who need it most to deal with difficult situations and challenges. Starting from this humane principle and as servants of the people, we have been working closely with our communities to create opportunities where everyone can achieve their ambitions. As a multi-ethnic municipality, our focus is on preserving the values of coexistence between all citizens, regardless of religion, race, or ethnicity, by organizing and supporting multicultural events. We established the Youth and Community Center to inspire and educate the youth by organizing various social actions to cultivate the values of kindness and compassion. We have worked to increase our own cooperation with humanitarian organizations by helping families and groups in need, but have also invited private donors to become part of our humanitarian initiatives. We have stood side by side with our communities through natural disasters and man-made incidents, and continue to support each other in whatever the future brings. The doors of goodness can never be closed if we want to live in peace with our conscience.
Okay, mayors, thank you again. It's our time to lead with kindness and compassion and love. Your Holiness, thank you for teaching us and showing us the way. You always lift us up and make our cities and our world a better place. So be well, everyone, and Your Holiness, until we see you again.
Thank you. Since we know each other, you see, you carry our main thought, compassion, continuously. So I very much appreciate we need continuously and more sort of compassionate feeling, and on the basis of oneness of humanity, then much problem which we are facing automatically reduce. So, firstly, I very much appreciate all the mayors who really pay much attention. Thank you very much. So, as I mentioned earlier, you see, that the work individual, change world, individual, limited. So group of people, particularly mayors of different place, different country, work together. So your work should continue, and mayors meeting in different continent, different country, I think should continue. So, as I mentioned earlier, there is a real hopeful sign. So, our effort must continuously. Then I think things that this the 20th century, now 21st century, I'm quite certain, you see, a better world. So we need constant effort. World, I want, you see, one happy world, and everywhere smiling. Smile, genuine smile, not artificial smile. Some diplomat, artificial smile or sarcastic smile, not that way, but genuine smile. I think we should create this world everywhere, you see, sense of oneness of human brothers, sisters. So smile. So we should eliminate angry face. So all mayors, you see, have the more opportunity, make continuous effort. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. All right,
Okay.
mayors, go forth with a happy face, genuine smiles. Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.